Hi, my name's Sharon Haig, and I'm teaching the world to profit. I was working with a client this week on how to write grant applications and telling them my top tips, and I thought I've never recorded this for other people. And it doesn't just apply to grant applications, it also applies to any time you want to attract funding from other sources. Even if it's your own customers, you might want to consider these top tips. I'll tell you the first time I ever wrote a grant application. It was when I was younger and more beautiful, but a lot less wise about how they work. But still, my boss had written something and I said, "Oh, you don't want to write that. I wouldn't respond to that if I was giving the money." And he said, "How about you have a go at drafting it then?" So I did. And he read the two of them and he said, "Okay, well, let's send in yours and see how we go." And he had never ever been successful in getting a grant before. So he sent in my grant application, and my proposal was met with such great enthusiasm that they decided to give us double what we'd asked for. And so from then on, I wrote all of the grant applications, and I've been doing it for years now. So these are my top tips. The first one is to inspire, don't require. And a lot of people get to a grant application and they tell the story of why they need it, why they require some money. And that's a big mistake. The big mistake is to appear too needy. The best idea is to try and inspire the reader of the grant application, not to require them to give you money. So think inspirational, think big, dreamy, positive, the wonderful things that you're going to do with the money, not the costs and why you need to get the money. So inspire, don't require. That's my top tip. If you don't remember anything else, remember that, because that's exactly what I did for that grant application that got us double. The second thing is to tell a story. And if there are costs involved, then weave it into a story. Don't just send in a list of figures or a budget. Actually tell the story about why those costs are so high for you as opposed to someone else or whatever. But weave into that story some figures. Tell the story, don't just present the figures. My third tip is to write the grant application in their language, in their on their agenda. What are they trying to achieve, not what are you trying to achieve? If you can help them achieve their objectives at the same time as achieving your objectives, that's the best possible outcome. For example, this client I was talking to today this week has a business where they do seminars in local high schools and at universities, and they wanted some funding for that. And there's several funding options open to them, but the grant that we were applying for, one of their objectives is to promote climate change. So all we had to do was to include a climate change element in the seminars that they're already running, and we could achieve our objectives by achieving their objectives. And that way you can make the funding seem much more attractive to whoever the source of the funding is. My fourth tip is to include an element of permanence. What people who give funds don't want to do is be relied on forever to give funds. They want you to be able to have some foresight and some long-term thinking about how you can make your projects permanent without constant input from them. So think about, how can this be permanent? How can it survive long after I'm gone? What do I need to do to make this project have permanent outcomes, not just temporary outcomes? My fifth tip is to benefit other people. So, for example, my boss's application, when he wrote in, said that he wanted money to go to this conference, and he talked about how he was going to benefit from it, and that's great. But he didn't include any element where he was going to pass on any of that learning to other people, or where he was going to use that learning to apply it in ways that benefited other people. It's a crucial element. You have to talk about how getting the grant funds will not only benefit you and achieve your objectives, but it will benefit other people. And the wider the community of people that it benefits, the better. The more people that benefit from it, the better it's seen in light of the application. And my last tip is to go for maximum impact. So try and look at leverage points in what you're doing and find out where you're going to have maximum impact and tell the story of those. So there might be a whole range of things that you're doing, like for example, this client was doing seminars for high school people and for universities, and there are a range of outcomes. Just showing up and hearing someone is inspiring. There was some educational components to it. Obviously, the climate change component was there as well. But the maximum impact that they were doing was outlining career paths for these people. And that can have an effect, not just today, but it can have an effect on their whole career. So it's maximum impact compared to the other components of their seminar. So look for the areas where you're having maximum impact and tell the story of those, highlight those, talk more about those, and have the others just as also rans in your application. So I hope these 6 half dozen tips will really help you attract funding, even if it's not a grant proposal. Attract funding from any other source, even if it's just talking about getting a pay rise from your boss. Consider these tips, talk in their language, find out where you can have maximum impact. Make sure you are inspiring your boss, not requiring him or sounding needy or desperate. Tell the story of it and make sure that you give him some sort of sense of permanence about you staying there, not just getting the pay rise and nicking off. So I hope all these 6 tips will really help you attract more money into your life. If you want to know more about how to profit, then please visit the website sharonhaig.com, or you can email me mail@sharonhaig.com. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks. Bye.